I think if he would have stuck in one sport, and that would have been football, he probably would have been in the same position I'm in today.
Ronald Antonio Curry, born May 28, 1979. Today's feature is a former high school star that was too good in both football and basketball to have the success he could have at either sport. Writer Omar Itani has a saying I came across that says, "You do one thing, you do it every day, and you do it for years. That's the secret to mastery." It's the simple version of it, and it makes total sense, especially speaking from experience. The gift and the curse of being talented in multiple areas is it gives you options when one lane may not be going or may not go as planned, so you can always find another passion in something else, but it hinders you from accomplishing all you could have had you put 100% instead of 50% of that energy, mentally and physically, in one focus. Ronald Curry is the perfect example, not deciding the sport he wanted to focus 100% of his energy on until it was too late and he became not even half of what his potential said he could had he chose earlier what direction to take. Charlie Ward can also be a great example as well, seeing as for dual sport athletes considered elite at multiple sports, he's had the most success going from a top football prospect leaving high school as well as being highly recruited in basketball. He played 4 years in both sports at Florida State, winning the program's first football national championship in '93 and the Heisman Trophy Award for the nation's best player the same year. Luckily, a focus was chosen for him, drafted in the first round of the NBA draft after not being considered a first rounder in the NFL draft. Imagine Ronald Curry stuck to basketball instead of football or vice versa. He was a McDonald's All-American in basketball in high school, winning the week's slam dunk contest and the game MVP as well, in a game that had 3 players enter the NBA draft instead of attending college. On the football side, Ronald was arguably even better. He was seen by many as the best high school prospect of all time on the football field. Even the polarizing Michael Vick, who became one of the greatest and most exciting football players I've personally ever seen in college and the NFL, had to play second fiddle to the stardom surrounding Ronald Curry being from the same state and playing in the same division. ESPN even called him the best high school prospect since John Elway. It was a time in his life, he says, the fondest memories came and the point he was at a pivotal fork in the road, even though he couldn't see it just yet. It would take him the next 4 years and much disappointment to decide which way to go, leading to a moderately successful career in the NFL when it was clear the NBA wasn't in his future. He was too good to choose one sport, and it led to his growth being stunted in both. What happened? Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Ronald Curry was a 6'2" dual sport athlete in high school, excelling in basketball as a point guard, becoming the 6th ranked prospect in the 1998 class and top point guard overall. He was ranked ahead of a plethora of future NBA players, notably Quentin Richardson, Richard Jefferson, Mike Miller, and Corey Maggette. As mentioned, he was selected as a McDonald's All-American in a game held in his home state and backyard, Norfolk, Virginia. By that time, he decided to decommit from Virginia, who he gave a verbal early on, pressured by just about everyone to stay home. But Virginia basketball coach Jeff Jones went under investigation for recruiting violations, as well as North Carolina emerging in both football and basketball, becoming top 5 in both. So Curry called it a no-brainer to sign there instead, with the chance to continue playing both sports. He took a lot of flack from Virginia fans, calling him all the traitorous names in the book. His high school football career is still heralded as one of the best in Virginia history, winning 3 state titles in football and even 1 in basketball. As a senior, he was the player of the year in both sports. Michael Vick, who played in the same division as Curry but a year younger, looked up to Ronald and admits to feeling pressure to live up to his name. He was strong, having a football body since a young age, a big guard on the court, and as a quarterback and point guard, used to being a leader as well. His potential was at its peak at that point, but little that he knew, only if he made a choice. Stunt number 1, not choosing a focus sooner. There's a reason colleges require you choose a focus or major at some point, usually after your first 2 years. That's because the grown-ups that run the university understand that in life, you'll be better off not spreading yourself so thin, doing everything at once, instead mastering one thing, leaving you better suited for life ahead. To them, it's common sense. To kids and also young athletes with fresh, energetic bodies, you just want to compete in whatever you can. Ronald Curry was a developed physical prodigy that initially gravitated to the football field, since in his neighborhood, football was everyone's pastime. When the season ended, he wanted to continue competition in the spring and summer, making him an all-around prospect. But him not deciding which way to go actually hurt him in many ways, even though it sounds exciting to say there's a guy good enough to go pro in multiple sports. He'd play from early September through November, December in football, and when basketball season started in November, he'd be right there in shape and ready to play the point guard position. Sounds good, but as athletes know, being in football shape is not the same as being in basketball shape and vice versa. In his freshman year playing behind Ed Cota, Curry struggled in 26 games, only playing 13 minutes a game, averaging 2.8 points per. On the football side, he came in as a backup to Oscar Davenport until Oscar was injured and won the Las Vegas Bowl MVP, throwing for just under 1,000 yards on the season. It also hurt not choosing a side because physically his body never had the chances to rest and recover, leading to a strained body and eventually torn Achilles his sophomore year. Coming back, he was never the same, having 2 more torn Achilles injuries over his pro career. Stunt number 2, his basketball talents hadn't developed. Entering his senior year of high school, many scouts saw Curry as an NBA player already. After the McDonald's All-American game, some even thought he had a chance to enter the draft. After showing among the nation's best, he could be the standout. With a moderately successful freshman year on the football field in the books, Curry showed up to basketball practice and brought all the news cameras out to watch or hear about it, and the consensus was he wasn't the same player. His body had been developed for on-field success, and he most noticeably didn't have the shooting touch he did in high school. As a freshman, he shot 14% from 3, 61% from the free throw line, and 24% from the field, leaving the coaching staff to feel maybe they brought him along too fast because he obviously wasn't prepared. Another byproduct of not choosing a focus, seeing as he was still a dual sport athlete. Then, when he injured himself on the football field his sophomore year, his on-court development slipped even further behind, and although he had a good junior but sophomore year due to a red shirt, it was still clear he hadn't taken the steps forward expected. As a junior in football, he had his best season yet, throwing for over 2,300 yards and 11 touchdowns as the starter, although 12 interceptions. He says his Achilles still didn't feel right until the end of the football season. In his own words, although he loved to play basketball, he never could put himself in the right position to succeed because so much of his time went to football as well. Stunt number 3, more setbacks. Credit to Ronald Curry because with everything going on at Carolina, he was still able to be drafted by the Oakland Raiders in the 7th round and played 7 seasons with the team. But during that time, he suffered 2 more Achilles injuries and a foot injury that all required surgery to correct. He wasn't able to continue playing quarterback for the Raiders, moving to wide receiver, having his best season in 2006, catching for 727 yards in 16 games with a catch percentage of 69.7%. From 2006 to 2008, he was one of the Raiders' best receivers. In 2006, he even bested Hall of Famer Randy Moss in receiving yards, starting only 4 of the 16 games. Had he not gotten injured a total of 3 times to his Achilles and 1 to the foot, that made him miss significant time developing his skills and time on the field, he may have had an even better career, although not bad by any means. All in all, Ronald Curry was still a success, even though not how many expected it to go. He still became a pro in sports, played a long enough time to earn a 5-year, $20 million contract, and now is a coach in the NFL since 2014. His name has gone forgotten over the years, certainly not a bust, but also many may call him a disappointment. Me, I see him as having done all the things he loved all at once and at least had pro success at one of them. We'll never know what he could have been had he chose one focus earlier, but what he became wasn't bad. Salute, much respect, it's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.